With a price tag of $500 per guest, this is the most expensive tasting menu in Los Angeles. Guests are served almost 30 bites each night, with modern and playful interpretations of familiar dishes. This caviar-topped meringue is a play on blinis and caviar. This mushroom millefeuille is a truffle sandwich. This is not a donut, it's a chocolate filled with caramel. Somni, which means dream in Catalan, is the vision of chef Aitor Zabala, who has a background from legendary restaurant El Bulli in Spain. The original iteration of Somni opened in 2018, with backing from chef Jose Andres. When we visited 6 years ago, we were absolutely blown away by the food. Somni received 2 Michelin stars before it closed due to the pandemic. Since then, Somni has been our #1 most anticipated restaurant opening in LA. Now Aitor has fully imagined his dream and opened on his own in a brand new venue in West Hollywood. Follow us inside Somni and find out if it's worth the price tag. The restaurant is set back from the street, a secret garden with a tranquil, tree-lined patio. The entrance is gorgeous and really made us feel like we stepped off the streets of LA and entered the world of Aitor. A yellow giraffe made from chicken wire greeted us when we walked through the door. Clouds dangled from tree branches, adding to the dreamy atmosphere. The meal at Somni began with snacks outside on the patio. Heat lamps flickered around us as we sat in a cushy booth with lots of pillows. We started with a glass of Eric Rodez Blanc de Noir champagne, which was lovely, creamy, round, and balanced. The tasting menu began with a series of small bites with strong flavors that were designed to wake up our palates and get us ready for the meal. All of the snacks were served at once, and we were instructed to eat them in any order we liked. The first one we tried was a beautiful Parmesan feather, a rice puff topped with Parmesan cream and a touch of lemon. The flavor was insane, so cheesy, so salty, and so good. Somehow it tasted like a cheesy lemon pasta, rich and fresh. We loved the textural contrast of the crisp and the cream. Beet juice and egg whites were whipped into a meringue to create the next stunning bite. The meringue was crispy with a creamy beet filling. This was delicious. We sipped on a welcome drink that they called the Mandarin Splash. This fresh squeezed mandarin juice was bright and refreshing, intended to open up our palates. The next bite we tried was a potato chip shaped like a monstera leaf, filled with anchovy cream. This monstera deliciosa had the salty, fishy flavors of a croquette. The shell was crispy, light, and airy, and the inside was smooth like a mayo. A gold bowl was filled with potato foam, Spanish black truffles, and Gruyere cheese. This was melt-in-the-mouth perfection. What's not to love about these comforting flavors? One of the most surprising bites was the Mayan chip, an amaranth leaf with a touch of tamarind. Somehow the leaf tasted like a churro, and the tamarind paste underneath added a nice acidity. The last bite was a dish that we had before at Somni 1.0, the almond shell. Although it looks like a real almond, it's actually a kind of candy, with a crispy and brittle shell. Even more thin and fragile than an M&M. Eat it in one bite, it explodes in the mouth with a filling that tastes like lemon curd and almond extract. It's fresh, acidic, and perfectly sweet. We hope this dish never leaves. After this series of really strong snacks, we were escorted into the dining room. Every bite so far was a flavor bomb with varied tastes and textures. We sat down at the 14-seat communal counter, and our palates were ready for the main event. The calm before the storm. As we settled into the dining room, we noticed the extreme attention to detail that had gone into the mise en place. It was clear that the team had painstakingly prepared everything in advance to be ready for service. And the race began. Alongside our food, we enjoyed the house-made non-alcoholic pairing. The first beverage was a sopa de flores, a soda made with rose, hibiscus, and elderflower. So floral, juicy, and foamy. If you follow Somni on Instagram, you've probably seen this stunning sardine tart before. Japanese iwashi is served on a flatbread in the shape of a sardine. The garlic and tomato sofrito perfectly balanced out the sardine, which sometimes can be too fishy for us. But this was lovely. There's no Spanish meal without jamon. Chef Aitor served an intensely rich jamon iberico on top of a salty Parmesan crisp with paprika, vinegar, and black garlic. One of our favorite bites of the meal came next, the truffle sandwich, a variation on a former Somni dish. It was like a milfoi, but with thin, crispy layers of potato instead of pastry that shattered when we bit into them. In between the layers, there was a rich black truffle cream as well as an anchovy butter, which added a perfect saltiness. On top were beautiful aromatic spheres of Spanish black truffles. This dish had it all, textures and flavors. We shortlisted it for one of the best dishes of the year. The next non-alcoholic drink was a play on a Bloody Mary that they called Sangre de Tomato, tomato blood. I don't usually like Bloody Marys, but I loved this sweet and acidic tomato concoction. One of the most technically impressive bites combined dashi, caviar, and oysters. A 24-hour cold-infused dashi was made into a savory meringue shaped like a fish, and topped with smoked butter, golden osietra caviar, and finished with orange zest and oyster flowers. This is Aitor's modern interpretation of a traditional serving of blinis, creme fraiche, and caviar. The meringue texture dissolved when we bit into it. It was so delicate. The fresh bursts of citrus perfectly balanced the saline and smoky notes. Most of the plating of the dishes and finishing touches take place at the counter in front of you, and then every dish is served simultaneously to all guests and presented. The next course combined two famous soups from Spain, gazpacho and ajo blanco. Tomatoes infused with sardine garum were served with smoked eel, cucumber, frozen almond milk, and sherry vinegar. Why didn't anyone ever combine these soups before? They balanced each other perfectly. This was a surprise hit, refreshing, tart, and sweet. Another dish that has evolved since Somni 1.0 is the cocoa crab, a serving of Dungeness crab, kohlrabi cream, and a sauce of fried crab heads mixed with coconut. This was so aromatic and balanced, with pops of acidity from the finger lime and herbaceousness from the cilantro and basil flowers. At this point, we were only an hour into our meal, and we'd already had 14 courses. Before the meal is over, we will have eaten almost 30 courses in 3 hours. That's one dish every 6 minutes. This is the fastest pace we've ever seen in a fine dining restaurant. Somni's next dish was mussels escabeche, a play on the famous mussels dish that is always served in bars in Spain. Somni took the lips of the mussel, the most tender part, and lines them up one by one on the plate. Underneath was a parfait made with the rest of the mussel, flavored with saffron. The brown sauce was a chicken escabeche, which gave the dish a more powerful surf and turf vibe. The dish was finished with a dashi foam made from the mussel shells. The next drink was our favorite from the non-alcoholic pairing, a passion fruit and vanilla sour. It was fresh, sweet, and fun, with a bubblegum vibe. Then came the return of our favorite dish from Somni 1.0, the shiso tartare tempura. A shiso leaf had a fried tempura bubble around it, puffed up with air like a balloon. Beef tartare came on top of the shiso puff, covered in beautiful borage flowers. The beef had an intense, deliciously deep flavor with a hint of mustard. This is still one of the best beef tartares we've ever had, and such a playful and fun presentation unlike anything we've seen elsewhere. The next drink was the hot and cold, a raspberry and elderflower juice topped with a hot foam of the same flavor. The following course ended up being our favorite from the meal. Barely cooked sweet shrimp from Japan were served with lemon caviar, smoked trout roe, celery, and a toasted butter espuma. The flour on top was a ravioli made from egg yolk, filled with wheat lacoche, corn smut from Oaxaca. On the side was a blue corn masa sourdough, which had all the flavor of a blue corn tortilla and the sponginess of sourdough. The purpose of the bread was to scarpetta the bowl and scrape up every last bit of the fluffy butter sauce. This dish will be one of the best dishes of 2025. Dry-aged Spanish turbot came next, topped with sugar snap peas and black dots of squid ink caviar. Underneath the fish was a gel made from the fish skins, infused with mint. This dish was fresh and tasted like spring. The huijo, a drink named after Somni's West Hollywood neighborhood, was next on the pairing. Inspired by the classic Manhattan cocktail, it was made with apple water, maple, and toasted hazelnut. The rest of the turbot came in 2 servings. First, the turbot rib was seared, smoked, and glazed with house-made teriyaki sauce and topped with shiso flowers. Wow, this was like a lollipop of fat, so gelatinous and like candy with the caramelization. It was insanely delicious. We never wanted that flavor to leave our mouths. The last bite of the turbot was a fish skin chicharron, filled with yuzu cream and yuzu sashimi. We loved Somni's bread course, a play on the Chinese steamed bun, mantou. Aitor served 2 sauces to go with this bread. One strong black garlic sauce came on the plate, and one slightly spicy curry sauce was poured tableside. We were instructed to break open the cheeky little curry bun. There was oxtail hiding inside. The bread was so fluffy, like a soft, bouncy pillow. First, we dragged the bun through the black garlic paste, and finished by dunking it in the curry sauce. This bread was very fun to play with and so delicious to eat. Our main course was a beautifully marbled piece of A4 Wagyu from Japan, served with a Patio pepper. The meat was perfectly cooked, melt in the mouth, rich and delicious. The side salad had a wonderful flavor of chive and onion, which was so refreshing next to the heavy meat. This dish is reminiscent of what you would be served in Basque Country. Of course, Somni is all about stunning presentations, so a cute potato chip pepper was hiding the real pepper underneath. Another carryover from Somni 1.0 was the famous cow and her milk, a cheese course with apple, hazelnuts, and brioche savarin, a triple cream cow cheese. The cow cracker on top was like a slightly sweet biscuit, and the vanilla, hazelnuts, and apple balanced out the cheese with a perfect sweetness. The last drink on the non-alcoholic pairing was a Culinary, a Spanish cider. This was easy drinking with a lemonade freshness and tropical vibes that went perfectly with the main dessert, the piña colada. A fluffy coconut mousse was topped with frozen coconut flowers, pineapple toffee caramel, and lemon skin. The dessert was finished tableside with a sauce made from tepache, fermented pineapple juice, and rum. This had amazing temperatures, textures, and flavors. It's the best piña colada we've ever had. Last but not least, it was time for sweet little things, Somni's Petit Fours. These were some of the cutest finishing bites we've ever seen, from berry gummies to liquid croissants to sprinkle-covered donuts. Somni is an overwhelming sensory experience, in the best possible way. It's easily the most boundary-pushing, groundbreaking restaurant in Los Angeles. Aitor has taken his Spanish heritage and experience working at El Bulli and combined it with the flavors of California to create an absolute masterpiece of a restaurant. It's a very technique-driven meal, but first and foremost, it's delicious. Yes, Somni is expensive, and it opened with a hefty price tag of $500 for the tasting menu. But we definitely think this meal is worth the price. It's one of the very best restaurants in the world, similar in style to Disfrutar and Alchemist. We could really see the progression since our last meal at Somni in 2019. And we know this is only the beginning for such a talented chef like Aitor. We have no doubt Somni will get their 2 stars back, and we even think it could be the first ever LA restaurant to get 3 Michelin stars. If you like our work, support us on Patreon, where we also have a food community called The Hungries. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more food and travel videos. And be sure to follow us on Instagram at @AndersHusa and Carnivore. Thanks for watching!